The alarm bells screamed through the Galactic Council chambers like wounded animals. Admiral Zethkar's 4 arms moved quickly across his control panel, his blue skin turning darker with stress. The massive viewing screen in front of him showed something that should not exist. A human ship was crossing into the silence. "This cannot be right," whispered Counselor Vashati from her floating chair. Her translucent body glowed brighter as fear filled her. "Check the sensors again." "I have checked them 12 times," Zethkar replied, his voice heavy with disbelief. "The readings are correct. Ship designation, Wanderer's End. Species, human. Current location, entering the boundary of the silence." Around the Great Council chamber, representatives from 47 different alien species stared at the screen in horror. The silence was death. Everyone knew this. For over 1 million years, every ship that entered that region of space simply vanished. No signals. No wreckage. Nothing. The silence stretched across 3 star systems, a place where space itself seemed wrong. Stars flickered in patterns that hurt to look at. Gravity flowed backward. Radio waves died before they could travel more than a few kilometers. Ancient warnings in dead languages marked every approach route, carved into asteroids by civilizations so old their names were forgotten. "Contact the humans immediately," ordered Prime Speaker Golrath, his rocky exterior cracking with stress. "Tell them to turn back." "We have been trying for 6 hours," said Communications Officer Trellness. "They respond to our calls, but they will not change course." The human ship appeared on screen again, magnified to show its massive size. It was not a warship or a scout vessel. The Wanderer's End was enormous, easily 10 kilometers long and 4 kilometers wide. Cities were built into its hull. Gardens could be seen through transparent sections. Children's playgrounds dotted the outer decks. "It is a colony ship," breathed Dr. Keth Mori, the galaxy's expert on alien minds. "They have families aboard." "Civilians? Why would they take civilians into the silence?" Before anyone could answer, the communication board lit up. The humans were broadcasting on every frequency at once. "This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the Earthship Wanderer's End," came a voice that sounded tired but determined. "We are beginning our final journey. To anyone receiving this message, remember us not for how we lived, but for how we chose to die." The council chamber fell silent except for the quiet hum of machinery. 47 different species, representing billions of beings across the galaxy, listened to the human captain's words with growing confusion. "We know you are watching," Captain Vasquez continued. "We know you think we are crazy. Maybe we are, but we have made our choice. In 847 days, our sun will explode. Earth will burn. Every human in the galaxy will die. We cannot stop this. We cannot run far enough to escape it. So we have decided to spend our last days doing what humans do best." Zethkar leaned forward in his command chair. "What do humans do best?" As if hearing his question, the captain's voice answered, "We explore. We discover. We go where others fear to travel. The silence has kept its secrets for 1 million years. Every species in the galaxy has declared it forbidden. Well, we are the last humans who will ever live. We have nothing left to lose. So we are going to find out what is really in there." Dr. Kethamori stood up quickly, her long limbs shaking. "This is unprecedented. No species has ever willingly entered the silence. The psychological profile required for such an action, it should be impossible." "Humans are impossible," muttered Zethkar. "We learned that during first contact." The first meeting between humans and the Galactic Council had been 50 years ago. The galaxy had expected Earth to be like every other newly discovered world, grateful for contact, eager to trade, worried about their place in the cosmic order. Instead, humans had asked 3 questions. What have you discovered? What have you built? What have you learned? When told about the silence and its dangers, most species would have marked it on their charts as a place to avoid. Humans had immediately wanted to know everything about it. What was inside? Why did ships vanish? Had anyone ever tried to study it properly? The Council had been forced to issue official warnings to keep human ships away. Now those warnings meant nothing. "Captain Vasquez," came another voice over the radio, this one older and speaking with a different accent. "This is Dr. Sarah Chen, Chief Science Officer of the Wanderer's End. We want the galaxy to know that we are not running away from death. We are not seeking some magical cure or hoping for rescue. We know exactly what we are doing." The communication paused, filled with static from the strange energies at the edge of the silence. "We are scientists, explorers, artists, teachers, and dreamers. We are parents and children and lovers and friends. In 847 days, none of us will exist. But the knowledge we gather, the discoveries we make, the data we transmit back to you, that will live forever. We are trading our lives for understanding. And we consider it a fair trade." Counselor Vashati's glow dimmed to almost nothing. "They speak of their death as if it were a simple decision, as if dying for knowledge were normal. For humans, it is normal," said Dr. Kethmori quietly. "I have studied their history. They have always done this, sailed into unknown oceans, climbed impossible mountains, flew into the sky before they knew how to land safely. They explore first and worry about survival second." On the viewing screen, the Wanderer's End continued its steady path toward the silence. Long-range sensors showed the ship's incredible size in detail. Entire forests grew on its upper decks. Water recycling systems sparkled like rivers. The ship was not just carrying humans. It was carrying all of human civilization. "How many are aboard?" asked Prime Speaker Golrath. 2.3 million souls," replied Trellness after checking his instruments. "The largest single group of humans ever assembled on one vessel." 2.3 million, repeated Zethkar in amazement. "They are taking their entire remaining population into certain death." "No," corrected Dr. Kethmori. "They are taking their entire remaining population into the unknown. To humans, these are very different things." The radio crackled again, and Captain Vasquez spoke once more. "To our friends in the Galactic Council, we thank you for your warnings. We thank you for your concern. We understand that our choice seems like madness to you. But consider this. In less than 3 years, every human will be dead anyway. We can die hiding in bunkers, weeping for our lost world, or we can die pushing the boundaries of knowledge itself." Her voice grew stronger, more confident. "We choose to die as humans have always died when we died well, reaching for something greater than ourselves. The silence has hidden its secrets for 1,000,000 years. Today, those secrets meet human curiosity. We will see which proves stronger." Around the council chamber, alien minds struggled to understand. The concept of voluntary extinction in service of discovery was beyond their ability to grasp. Species survived. That was the first rule of existence. Species that did not prioritize survival went extinct. Yet here were the humans, facing certain extinction and choosing to spend their final days on the greatest scientific expedition in galactic history. "Are they transmitting data?" asked Dr. Kethmori. "Constantly," replied Trellness. "Scientific readings, cultural archives, historical records, art, music, literature. They are broadcasting everything they are and everything they know." "Why?" "Because," said Captain Vasquez, her voice somehow reaching them through the static, "knowledge should not die with those who discover it. We are about to learn things that no living being has ever known. And we will share every bit of it with you, right? Up until the moment we can no longer transmit." The Wanderer's End crossed the final marker at the edge of the silence. As it did, the strange energies that surrounded that region of space began to interact with the ship's hull. Colors that had no names flickered across its surface. The ship's outline seemed to blur and shift, as if reality itself were becoming uncertain. "Last transmission window closing," reported Trellness. "Signal strength dropping rapidly." "Citizens of the galaxy," came Captain Vasquez's voice, now faint and filled with static. "We go now into the dark between the stars. We go to learn what waits in the places where gods fear to tread. If you never hear from us again, remember that we went gladly. Remember that we chose wonder over safety, discovery over survival." The Kai. Transmission began to break up, words scattered by energies that science could not explain. Remember that we were human, and that being human means the signal died. On the viewing screen, the Wanderer's End faded from sight as it entered the heart of the silence. Where the ship had been, there was now only empty space that somehow seemed darker than the void around it. The council chamber remained quiet for long minutes. Representatives from 47 species stared at the empty screen, trying to process what they had witnessed. "They are gone," whispered Counselor Vashati. "No," said Dr. Kethmori firmly. "They are just beginning. For the first time in 1,000,000 years, someone is actually trying to understand the silence. Someone is approaching it not with fear, but with scientific method." Admiral Zethkar turned to face the council. "What do we do now?" "We wait," replied Prime Speaker Golrath. "We watch, we listen, and we try to understand what it means to be human. On the edge of the galaxy's greatest mystery, 2.3 million humans sailed toward certain death and possible discovery. Behind them, the rest of the galaxy watched and wondered if courage and curiosity could succeed where wisdom and caution had failed for 1,000,000 years. The silence had swallowed another ship. But this time, the ship had chosen to be swallowed, and that, perhaps, would make all the difference. 3 days passed without any word from the Wanderer's End. The Galactic Council had not dismissed its emergency session. Representatives from dozens of worlds sat in the Great Chamber, staring at empty screens and waiting for something that might never come. Dr. Kethmori had not slept. She stood before her research station, surrounded by floating displays showing everything the galaxy knew about humans. Their history, their psychology, their impossible decisions. She was trying to understand why an entire species would choose death over safety. "Doctor," called Admiral Zethkar from his command station, "the Science Division wants to speak with you." Kethmori activated the communication link. The image of Director Yothmel appeared, his crystalline body reflecting light in patterns that showed deep concern. "Dr. Kethmori," the director said, "we need answers. The Council is demanding to know if the humans were simply insane or if there was logic behind their decision. Can you explain their behavior?" Kethmori looked at the data surrounding her. Human wars, human exploration, human art, human sacrifice. The pattern was always the same. Humans chose the difficult path when they believed it would lead to something greater. "Director," she said slowly, "I think we have been asking the wrong question. We keep asking why humans would choose death. But what if they did not choose death? What if they chose something else?" "Explain." "Every report about the humans mentions their sun going supernova, but we have never asked for details. We assumed they were running from certain destruction. What if they were running toward something?" Instead, Director Yothmel's crystalline form shifted colors rapidly, showing confusion. "What could be worth more than survival?" "Knowledge," Kethmori replied. "To humans, knowledge is survival of a different kind. Not survival of the body, but survival of the mind, the spirit, the discoveries they make." She manipulated her displays, bringing up files from the human databases. "Look at this. Human history is full of people who died to preserve knowledge. Scientists who gave their lives to understand diseases. Explorers who froze to death mapping new continents. soldiers who died protecting libraries and schools. The communication link expanded to include other members of the science division. Dr. Veltar, the galaxy's expert on stellar mechanics, joined the conversation. Dr. Kethmori is correct about the human sun, Veltar said. I have reviewed their astronomical data. Their star is indeed going to explode, but not randomly. Something caused this. The chamber fell silent. What do you mean something caused this? Asked Admiral Zethkar. The humans discovered evidence of artificial intervention in their star's life cycle. Ancient technology, millions of years old, designed to trigger stellar collapse. Someone or something used their sun as a weapon. Dr. Kethmori felt her understanding shift. They are not just facing natural death. They are facing murder. Someone destroyed their world, and they know it. Who would do such a thing? Whispered Counselor Vashati. That, said Veltar grimly, is what the humans went into the silence to discover. The pieces began to fall into place in Kethmori's mind. The humans had not chosen death over life. They had chosen investigation over acceptance. Their son was going to kill them anyway, but instead of simply dying, they had decided to learn who had murdered their world and why. Pull up the human transmission logs, Kethmori ordered. Everything they broadcast during their journey to the silence. The data flowed across her screens. Messages between human scientists, personal journals, communications with their families, and buried in the technical discussions, she found what she was looking for. Here, she said, highlighting a conversation between Captain Vasquez and Dr. Chen. Dr. Chen says, if we are going to die because of ancient technology, then ancient technology might also hold the key to understanding why. And Captain Vasquez replies, the silence is the oldest anomaly in the galaxy. If answers exist anywhere, they exist there. Director Yothmel's form brightened with understanding. They are not exploring for the sake of exploration. They are investigating their own murder. And they chose the silence because it is the one place in the galaxy that predates all known civilizations, added Dr. Veltar. If the technology that destroyed their sun came from an ancient source, the silence would be the most likely place to find evidence of it. Admiral Zethkar stood up from his command chair. This changes everything. The humans are not crazy explorers. They are investigators following the only lead they have. Dr. Kethmori continued reading through the human transmissions. Personal messages, scientific observations, cultural records. But one type of transmission appeared more frequently than any other. Educational broadcasts. Look at this, she said, displaying the pattern. 40% of their transmissions are educational materials, history lessons, scientific principles, mathematical concepts, philosophical discussions. They are teaching. Teaching who? Asked Counselor Vashuti. Us, Kethmori realized. They are teaching us. They know they are going to die, but they want their knowledge to survive through us. She pulled up one of the educational broadcasts and played it for the council. Dr. Chen's voice filled the chamber. This is lesson number 47 in our series on human scientific method. Today we discuss the principle of acceptable risk. When facing a problem that will result in certain death if unsolved, the risk of death while trying to solve it becomes acceptable. This principle has guided human exploration for thousands of years. The broadcast continued. We enter the silence knowing we may die, but we also know that staying outside the silence means we will definitely die. Therefore, the choice is not between life and death. The choice is between death with knowledge and death without knowledge. Dr. Kethmori paused the recording. Do you understand? They are not brave because they do not fear death. They are brave because they fear ignorance more than death. Around the council chamber, representatives from 47 species tried to grasp this concept. For most galactic civilizations, survival was the highest priority. But humans seem to operate under a different hierarchy of values. "There is more," said Dr. Veltar. "I have been analyzing the energy readings from their ship as it entered, the Silence. The Wanderer's End is not just a colony ship. It is the most advanced scientific vessel ever constructed." New data appeared on the main screen. Detailed scans of the human ship showed equipment that the galaxy's best scientists could barely identify. Quantum sensors, dimensional mappers, temporal anchors, consciousness transfer devices, Veltar listed. They have technology aboard that ship that we did not know existed. "How did they develop such advanced equipment so quickly?" asked Admiral Zethkar. "They did not develop it quickly," Kethamori replied, reading through more human data. "They have been preparing for this mission for 30 years. Ever since they first detected the artificial nature of their sun's destabilization. The scope of human planning became clear as more information emerged. For 3 decades, humanity had poured every resource into 2 projects, saving as many people as possible and building the most advanced exploration vessel in galactic history. They never intended to ask for help," Kethamori said quietly. "They knew from the beginning that they were going to investigate this themselves. But why not share the information with us?" asked Prime Speaker Golrath. "The galaxy could have helped. We could have worked together to find answers." Dr. Kethamori found the answer in Captain Vasquez's personal journal. "The galactic community has marked the Silence as forbidden for 1,000,000 years. They fear it too much to study it properly. If we told them our theory about ancient weapons hidden in the Silence, they would try to stop us from investigating. They would want to contain the threat, not understand it. But understanding is what we need. The weapon that killed our sun could kill other suns. The only way to prevent future attacks is to learn how the weapon works and who built it." The truth hit the Council like a physical blow. The humans had not entered the Silence to die gloriously. They had entered it to prevent other species from suffering the same fate as humanity. "They are trying to save us," whispered Counselor Vashti. "Not just save us," corrected Dr. Kethamori. "They are trying to solve a galaxy-wide threat that no one else even knows exists." Director Yothmel's form pulsed with different colors as he processed this information. If they are correct about ancient weapons in the Silence, then every inhabited system in the galaxy could be at risk. "And they are investigating this threat while knowing that they will die in the process," added Dr. Veltar. Admiral Zethkar activated his fleet communications. "All ships, this is Admiral Zethkar. Prepare long-range sensor arrays for continuous monitoring of the Silence boundary. I want every signal, every energy fluctuation, every quantum whisper recorded and analyzed." "Sir," asked his communications, "Officer, are we planning a rescue mission?" "No," Zethkar replied. "We are planning to learn. The humans went into the Silence to gather information that could save the galaxy. The least we can do is make sure their discoveries do not die with them." Dr. Kethamori returned to her research station with new understanding. The humans aboard the Wanderer's End were not explorers seeking glory. They were investigators pursuing justice. They were teachers ensuring that their knowledge would survive. They were guardians protecting a galaxy that could not protect itself, and they were doing all of this while facing their own extinction. "Doctor," called Admiral Zethkar, "how long do the humans have before their sun explodes?" Kethamori checked the astronomical data. 844 days. "And how long can a ship survive in the Silence?" "Unknown. No ship has ever returned to tell us." "Then we wait," Zethkar said firmly. "We watch, we listen, and we prepare to honor their sacrifice by learning from their discoveries." In the darkness of the Silence, 2.3 million humans sailed toward answers that the galaxy needed but was too afraid to seek. Behind them, 47 alien species began to understand that courage was not the absence of fear. Courage was the decision that something else was more important than fear. For humans, that something was knowledge, and justice, and the hope that their deaths might prevent other worlds from burning. The investigation had begun. 7 days into the silence, the impossible happened. A signal came through. Admiral Zethkar was sleeping in his command chair when the communication alarm woke him. Around the council chamber, other representatives stirred from their own rest. Periods. For a week, they had maintained constant watch, hoping for any word from the human ship. "Signal source identified," reported Communications Officer Trellness, his voice tight with excitement. "It is the Wanderer's End. Put it through immediately," ordered Zethkar. The main screen flickered to life, showing the interior of the human ship's bridge. But something was wrong. The image wavered like heat waves rising from hot sand. Colors bled into each other, and the humans themselves seemed to flicker in and out of focus. Captain Vasquez appeared on screen, but she looked different. Her eyes held depths that had not been there before, as if she were seeing things beyond normal vision. When she spoke, her voice carried strange harmonics that made the universal translator struggle to process her words. "Galactic Council," she said, her image shifting between solid and translucent. "This is Captain Elena Vasquez reporting from inside the silence. We are alive. We are changed. And we are discovering things that will reshape everything. We thought we knew about the universe." Dr. Kethamori leaned forward, studying the captain's altered appearance. "What has happened to them?" Before anyone could answer, Captain Vasquez continued. "Time moves differently here. We have been in the silence for 7 days by your count, but we have experienced approximately 60 days. Space itself is flexible. We have traveled distances. That should have taken months, yet our chronometers insist that only hours have passed." The image shifted, showing other parts of the ship. Human children played in gardens where the plants seemed to glow with their own light. Scientists worked at instruments that appeared to be made of crystallized mathematics. Engineers repaired systems using tools that existed in more dimensions than the eye could see. "The silence is not empty." Dr. Chen's voice joined the transmission. She appeared beside Captain Vasquez, but her form seemed to be composed of both, matter and energy. "It is full of structures, entities, and technologies that exist outside our normal understanding of physics." "Structures?" asked Admiral Zethkar. "Cities," Captain Vasquez replied, "ancient beyond measure, built by civilizations that existed before the current universe was born. We have found ruins that predate the Big Bang, technologies that treat time like a river that can be dammed, redirected, or reversed." The transmission quality improved suddenly, as if the humans had learned to work with the strange energies surrounding them. The image became clearer, showing the Wanderer's End drifting through a space that defied description. Outside the ship's windows, geometric structures floated in the void. Buildings that were somehow inside out, their interiors visible from the outside. Bridges that connected to nothing but supported impossible weights. Gardens growing in pure vacuum, their flowers made of condensed starlight. "My God," whispered Counselor Vashadi. "No gods," corrected Dr. Chen. "Predecessors, the beings who built these structures transcended physical existence eons ago, but they left their cities as teaching tools, museums, laboratories for those who would come after." Captain Vasquez moved closer to the camera, her changed eyes reflecting light in patterns that hurt to look at directly. "We have found the weapon that destroyed our sun. It is not a weapon in any sense we understand. It is a test." The council chamber erupted in voices as representatives demanded explanations. Admiral Zethkar called for silence, then asked the question they all needed answered. "What kind of test?" "A test of worthiness," Captain Vasquez replied. "The ancient civilizations built triggers throughout the galaxy. When a species reaches a certain level of technological development, the triggers activate. Stellar destabilization, gravitational anomalies, dimensional rifts, the species faces extinction. That is monstrous. said Prime Speaker Golrath. No, said Dr. Chen, her image becoming more solid as she spoke. It is necessary. The test identifies species that are ready for the next stage of evolution. Most species, when faced with extinction, focus only on survival. They run, they hide, they fight. But occasionally, a species does something different. They explore, Captain Vasquez continued. They investigate. They choose knowledge over safety. They enter places like the silence, not to escape death, but to understand it. The transmission shifted again, showing human scientists working alongside beings that existed only as patterns of living light. Children learning mathematics from entities that communicated through manipulated gravity. Artists creating sculptures from crystallized time itself. The predecessors are still here, Dr. Chen explained. Not in physical form, but as consciousness, as intelligence, as teachers. They have been waiting in places like the silence for species brave enough to seek them out. Waiting for what? Asked Dr. Kethmori. Waiting to share their knowledge, Captain Vasquez replied. The technologies they developed, the understanding they gained, the wisdom they accumulated over billions of years, but they only share it with species that prove they will use it wisely. And how does a species prove that? By being willing to die for knowledge, by choosing the welfare of others over their own survival, by entering the unknown not for personal gain, but for universal understanding. The image on screen expanded to show more of the human ship, but the Wanderer's end was changing. Its hull had become partially transparent, revealing internal structures that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The ship was being transformed by its passage, through the silence. We are learning to exist in 11 dimensions, Dr. Chen reported. Our bodies are adapting to process information that exists outside normal space-time. Our minds are expanding to comprehend mathematical concepts that we could not even imagine before. Are you still human? Asked Dr. Kethmori quietly. Captain. Vasquez smiled, and for a moment she looked exactly as she had when the ship first entered the silence. We are more human than we have ever been. We are everything humans were meant to become. Admiral Zethkar leaned forward in his command chair. What about your son? Can the knowledge you are gaining save Earth? Earth cannot be saved, Captain, Vasquez replied without sadness. The stellar destabilization cannot be reversed, but we have learned why it happened and how to prevent it from happening to other worlds. She gestured, and new data flowed across the galactic communication networks. Equations that described stellar manipulation, energy patterns that revealed hidden triggers throughout the galaxy, star charts marking systems that were at risk of artificial collapse. 47 systems are currently targeted for testing, Dr. Chen announced, including worlds belonging to every species in the Galactic Council. The tests will begin at different times over the next 1,000 years. The council chamber fell silent as representatives realized that their own worlds might face the same fate as Earth. But, Captain Vasquez continued, we are transmitting the knowledge needed to pass these tests, not to prevent them, but to ensure that other species make the right choices when they are tested. What are the right choices? Asked Councillor Vashati. Courage over comfort, knowledge over ignorance, service to others over service to self. The same choices humans have always made when we made them well. The transmission began to waver again as the ship moved deeper into the silence. But before the signal faded, Captain Vasquez delivered one final message. We came here expecting to die. Instead, we are learning how to truly live. The predecessors have offered us a choice. We can return to normal space with the knowledge to save not just your worlds, but your entire civilizations. Or we can remain here and become something beyond physical existence, joining the predecessors as guardians and teachers for future species. What will you choose? Asked Admiral Zethkar. Captain Vasquez's image flickered between human and something far more complex. We will choose as humans always choose. We will choose what is best for everyone else. The transmission ended, leaving the council chamber in stunned silence. Dr. Kethamori stood slowly, her mind struggling to process what she had witnessed. The humans had entered the silence expecting death and had instead found evolution. They had discovered that the greatest threats to galactic civilization were actually tests designed to identify species ready for transcendence. They went into the unknown to investigate their own murder, she said quietly, and they discovered that their murder was actually an invitation. An invitation to what? Asked Prime Speaker Golrath. To become the kind of beings who create tests for their successors. To become guardians and teachers for the next generation of intelligent life. To become... She paused, searching for the right words. To become worthy of the knowledge they sought, finished Admiral Zethkar. On the edge of the galaxy's greatest mystery, 2.3 million humans faced a choice that no species had ever been offered before. They could return as saviors, bringing knowledge that would preserve galactic civilization for eons, or they could transcend physical existence entirely, becoming part of an ancient community of consciousness that guided the evolution of intelligence itself. Either way, they had already accomplished what they set out to do. They had turned their extinction into evolution, and in doing so, they had proven that being human meant something more than anyone had ever imagined. The silence between transmissions stretched on, filled with possibilities that no one had dared to dream. 14 days passed before the humans transmitted again. When the signal came through, it carried with it data streams so complex that the Galactic Council's most advanced computers needed hours just to decode the basic information. The image that appeared on screen was almost unrecognizable. Captain Vasquez stood in what could only be described as a cathedral of living mathematics. Equations floated around her like butterflies made of pure logic. Her human form was still visible, but it was overlaid with patterns of energy that extended into dimensions the cameras could not properly capture. "Galactic Council," she said, her voice now carrying harmonics that seemed to resonate with the very fabric of reality. "We have made contact with the Guardians of the Silence. We have learned the truth about the tests, about the purpose behind the ancient weapons, and about the choice that every species must eventually make." Behind her, other humans moved through spaces that defied geometric logic. They walked on surfaces that curved back on themselves, worked with tools that existed in 11 dimensions, and communicated with beings of pure consciousness who had been waiting in the silence for millions of years. Dr. Kethamori activated her recording equipment, knowing that what they were about to learn would reshape galactic civilization forever. "The beings you call the predecessors," Captain Vasquez continued, "call themselves the first teachers. They were the first species in this universe to evolve beyond the need for physical form. Before they transcended, they created a system to guide the development of intelligence throughout the cosmos." A new figure appeared beside the captain. It was recognizably human in shape, but composed entirely of crystallized light. When it spoke, its voice carried the weight of eons. "I am Dr. Marcus Webb," the figure said. "I was the chief physicist, aboard the Wanderer's End. I have chosen to undergo the first stage of transcendence to serve as a bridge between human understanding and guardian wisdom." The council chamber fell silent. They were witnessing the voluntary evolution of a human being into something beyond their comprehension. "The tests," Dr. Webb continued, "are not punishments. They are opportunities. Every species that develops advanced technology eventually faces the same fundamental choice. Do they use their knowledge to serve themselves, or do they use it to serve something greater?" Captain Vasquez gestured, and the view expanded to show the vast interior of a guardian city. Structures that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously housed beings of pure consciousness. Libraries contained the accumulated knowledge of countless extinct civilizations. Schools taught mathematics that could reshape reality itself. "Most species fail the test," she said. When faced with extinction, they focus only on preserving themselves. They develop weapons to fight the threat, shields to hide from it, or ships to run from it. These responses demonstrate that the species is not ready for the responsibility that comes with true cosmic knowledge. But some species, added Dr. Webb, respond differently. They investigate the threat. They seek to understand it. They choose knowledge over safety, wisdom over survival, service to others over service to self. A guardian approached the human figures on screen. It was a being of impossible beauty, composed of flowing patterns of light and sound that hurt to look at directly. When it communicated, the thoughts appeared as written words floating in the air around it. "This species called human has chosen correctly," the words read. They faced extinction and responded with curiosity. They discovered danger to others and chose to investigate rather than flee. They found opportunity for transcendence and asked, first, how it could benefit the galaxy. Admiral Zethkar leaned forward. "What does transcendence mean? What happens to species that pass the test?" Captain Vasquez smiled, and for a moment she looked exactly as she had when the ship first left. "Earth. We become guardians ourselves. We join the first teachers in guiding the development of younger species. We help create the tests that will identify the next generation of beings ready for cosmic responsibility. But first," added Dr. Webb, "we must make a choice. Every species that passes the test faces the same decision we now face." The scene on screen shifted to show the bridge of the Wanderer's End, but the ship was no longer recognizable as human technology. It had become something hybrid, part machine and part living organism, part matter and part energy. Children who had been born during the journey now played with toys that existed in multiple dimensions. Adults worked at stations that responded to thought rather than touch. "We can return to normal space," Captain Vasquez explained. "We can bring back the knowledge we have gained here, technologies that could reverse stellar collapse, heal dying worlds, and advance galactic civilization by millions of years. We could save Earth. We could prevent the tests that are scheduled for other worlds. We could make life easier and safer for every species in the galaxy." "That sounds wonderful," said Counselor Vashati. "Why would you not choose that?" "Because," said Dr. Webb quietly, "making life easier and safer is not the same as making life meaningful. The tests exist for a reason. They identify species that are ready for true cosmic responsibility. If we eliminate the tests, we also eliminate the growth that comes from facing them." A new voice joined the conversation. Dr. Chen appeared on screen, but like Dr. Webb, she had undergone partial transcendence. Her form flickered between human and something far more complex. "The first teachers have shown us the history of species that were given advanced knowledge without earning it," she said. "They stagnate. They become comfortable. They stop growing, stop learning, stop evolving. Within a few thousand years, they inevitably destroy themselves." Captain Vasquez nodded. "The tests are not obstacles to civilization. They are the engine that drives civilization forward. Each test forces a species to choose between self-interest and universal benefit. Those who choose correctly become part of the system that guides cosmic evolution." "But what about Earth?" asked Dr. Kethamori. "What about the humans who will die when your sun explodes?" "Earth will die," Captain Vasquez said without sadness. "But humanity will not. We have learned that consciousness, knowledge, and wisdom can exist beyond physical form. The 2.3 million humans aboard this ship represent the seed of a new type of existence." The view shifted again, showing children aboard the Wanderer's End. But these children were different from any beings the Council had ever seen. They played games that involved manipulating the fundamental forces of reality. They learned mathematics by conversing with living equations. They drew pictures with light itself. "The next generation," Dr. Webb explained, "will be born already adapted to multidimensional existence. They will be native to the realm between matter and energy, between thought and reality. They will be the first truly cosmic humans. This is incredible, whispered Prime Speaker Golrath. But what about the rest of us? What about the species that have not been tested yet? Captain Vasquez turned to address the camera directly. That is why we must make our choice carefully. If we return to normal space, we can save your worlds from the immediate tests, but we cannot save you from the choice itself. Eventually, every species must decide what kind of beings they want to become. And if you stay in the silence, if we stay, we become part of the Guardian system. We help design better tests, kinder challenges, wiser opportunities for growth. We become teachers for the species that will come after you. Dr. Chen moved closer to the camera. The first teachers have shown us species that passed their tests in the past, beings of incredible wisdom and power who chose transcendence over return. They are still here, still learning, still growing, still helping to guide cosmic evolution. But they are no longer part of the physical universe, she continued. They exist in a realm of pure consciousness, where thought and reality are the same thing. They experience existence in ways that physical beings cannot imagine. A long silence fell over the transmission. On screen, the humans moved through their transformed ship, working with technologies that seemed like magic, communicating with beings of pure light, raising children who would never know the limitations of three-dimensional existence. "How long do we have to decide?" asked Admiral Zethkar. "Time moves differently here," Captain Vasquez replied. "From your perspective, we will make our choice in 7 days. From our perspective, we have already been deliberating for months. What are you leaning toward?" Captain Vasquez looked around at her transformed crew, at the children playing with crystallized mathematics, at the scientists working with beings of pure consciousness. When she turned back to the camera, her eyes held, depths that reflected the wisdom of ages. "We are leaning toward being human," she said simply. "And being human has always meant choosing what is best for others, even when it costs us everything." The transmission began to fade as the ship moved deeper into dimensions that communication equipment could not follow. 7 days, Captain." Vasquez's voice echoed across the chamber. "In 7 days, we will announce our decision. Until then, consider this. Every choice creates the future. Our choice will determine not just the fate of humanity, but the shape of cosmic civilization for millions of years to come." The signal died, leaving the council chamber in profound silence. Dr. Kethmori stared at the empty screen, her mind struggling to comprehend what she had witnessed. The humans had been offered godhood and were considering rejecting it for the sake of strangers they would never meet. "They are going to choose transcendence," she said quietly. "They are going to become guardians and leave the physical universe behind." "Why are you so certain?" asked Admiral Zethkar. "Because that is what humans do," she replied. "They sacrifice themselves for others. They choose the difficult path when they believe it will help someone else. They have always been more concerned with what they give than what they get." In the silence, 2.3 million humans continued their transformation into something beyond physical existence. In 7 days, they would make a choice that would echo through eternity. The galaxy waited to learn what it meant to be truly human. On the 7th day, something extraordinary happened at the edge of the silence. Reality began to bend. Admiral Zethkar felt it first, as a strange tingling in his consciousness, as if the universe itself were holding its breath. Around the council chamber, representatives from 47 species looked up from their instruments with confusion and growing wonder. "Admiral," called Communications Officer Trellness, his voice tight with disbelief. "I am detecting massive energy fluctuations at the silence boundary. Something is emerging." The main screen activated, showing the region where the Wanderer's End had disappeared 3 weeks earlier. But the space there was no longer empty. Reality rippled like water, colors bled through dimensions that had no names, and geometric patterns appeared that hurt to look at directly. Then, Slowly, a ship began to materialize. But it was not the same ship that had entered the silence. The Wanderer's end that emerged was something between matter and energy, between technology and living organism. Its hull seemed to be constructed from crystallized starlight. Gardens grew on its surface in patterns that existed in 11 dimensions. Children's laughter echoed from spaces that were somehow larger on the outside than the inside. By the ancient stars, whispered Counselor Vashati. What have they become? Before anyone could answer, the communication system activated. Captain Vasquez appeared on screen, but she was simultaneously human and something far more complex. Her image shifted. Between solid matter and patterns of living light, between three-dimensional form and multidimensional existence. Galactic Council, she said, her voice carrying harmonics that resonated with the very fabric of space-time. We have made our choice. We return to you not as conquerors or saviors, but as teachers and friends. Dr. Keth Mori leaned forward, studying the captain's transformed appearance. You chose to return rather than transcend? We chose both, Captain Vasquez replied with a smile that contained depths of wisdom. The first teachers showed us that the choice was never binary. We did not have to choose between helping you and helping ourselves. We could choose to help everyone. The view expanded to show other humans aboard the transformed ship. They moved through spaces that defied geometric logic, worked with technologies that seemed like magic, and communicated with beings of pure consciousness who had accompanied them from the silence. Dr. Chen appeared beside Captain Vasquez, her form flickering between human and energy patterns. We have learned to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Part of us remains in the physical universe to work with you. Part of us has transcended to work with the Guardians. We are bridges between worlds of existence. A new figure joined them on screen. It was Dr. Webb, but he had undergone complete transformation. He existed as pure consciousness housed in a framework of crystallized mathematics, yet somehow remained recognizably human. The technologies we bring, he said, his voice carrying the weight of cosmic knowledge, can heal dying stars, repair damaged worlds, and advance civilization by millions of years. But more importantly, we bring understanding. Admiral Zethkar activated his fleet communications. All ships maintain safe distance but prepare to receive scientific data. This could be the most important moment in galactic history. It is, confirmed Captain Vasquez, but not for the reasons you think. The transmission shifted to show children aboard the Wanderer's End. These were the children who had been born during the journey through the silence, and they were unlike any beings the galaxy had ever seen. They played with toys made of living. Light learned mathematics by conversing with sentient equations and drew pictures that existed in dimensions beyond normal perception. The next generation, Dr. Chen explained, will be native to both physical and transcendent existence. They will be able to communicate directly with the Guardians while remaining connected to the physical universe. They will be teachers for the species that are tested in the future. But first, added Captain Vasquez, we must address the immediate crisis. New data flowed across the galactic communication networks. Star charts showing the location of ancient weapons throughout the galaxy. Technical specifications for devices that could detect and neutralize stellar destabilization triggers. Most importantly, detailed instructions for how species could pass their tests when the time came. 47 systems are currently targeted for testing, Dr. Webb announced. We cannot prevent these tests, nor should we, but we can ensure that every species has the knowledge they need to make the right choices. What are the right choices? Asked Prime Speaker Golrath. The same. Choices humans made, Captain Vasquez replied. When faced with extinction, investigate rather than flee. When offered power, ask how it can serve others. When given knowledge, share it freely. When confronted with the unknown, Approach it with curiosity rather than fear. Dr. Keth Mori stood up slowly, her mind racing with implications. You are going to prepare us for our own tests. We are going to give you the tools, corrected Dr. Chen, but the choices must still be yours. Each species must decide for itself what kind of beings they want to become. The scene on screen shifted to show the interior of the transformed ship. Humans worked alongside beings of pure consciousness, creating technologies that bridged the gap between matter and energy. Children learned from teachers who existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Artists created works of beauty that existed in 11-dimensional space. This is what civilization can become, Captain Vasquez said. Not the elimination of challenges, but the wisdom to face them correctly. Not the absence of death, but the presence of meaning. Not the end of growth, but the beginning of true evolution. Admiral Zethkar leaned back in his command chair, overwhelmed by the scope of what the humans had accomplished. Where will you go now? What will you do? We will establish academies throughout the galaxy, Dr. Webb replied. Places where species can learn about the tests they will face and the choices they will need to make. We will share the knowledge of the Guardians while helping you develop your own wisdom. And Earth? Asked Dr. Kethmori quietly. What about your dying world? Captain Vasquez's expression grew soft with an emotion that transcended simple sadness. Earth will be healed. The stellar destabilization can be reversed using Guardian technology, but Earth will no longer be humanity's only home. The view shifted to show the surface of the transformed ship, where entire cities existed in spaces that were somehow larger than the ship itself. Gardens bloomed in 11-dimensional configurations. Rivers flowed upward into dimensions that cameras could not capture. Children played in zero gravity while their parents worked with living mathematics. The Wanderer's End has become our new world, Dr. Chen explained. A world that exists partially in normal space and partially in the realm of the Guardians. We can travel anywhere in the galaxy instantly, appear in multiple locations simultaneously, and exist in forms that transcend the limitations of single-dimensional being. You have become gods, whispered Counselor Vashati. No, Captain Vasquez said firmly. We have become human. More human than we ever were before. Everything we are doing, every choice we have made, grows from the same root that has always defined humanity. The belief that knowledge shared is knowledge multiplied, that strength used to protect others becomes greater strength, and that the best way to honor life is to spend it in service of something larger than yourself. The transmission began to take on an educational tone as the humans started broadcasting detailed information about Guardian technologies, cosmic history, and the nature of the tests that awaited other species. The galaxy will change, Dr. Webb announced. Over the next 1,000 years, every species will face their own version of what humanity faced. Some will pass, some will fail. But for the first time in cosmic history, they will face these tests with guidance. We will be there, added Dr. Chen, to teach what we have learned, to share what we have discovered, and to help in whatever way we can. But we will not make the choices for you. Growth comes from facing challenges, not from having them eliminated. Admiral Zethkar activated his personal communication link to the Council's central computer. Begin downloading and analyzing all incoming data. Prepare for the largest educational and technological advancement in galactic history. Already. In progress, Admiral, came the reply. The amount of information they are transmitting would take our best scientists decades to fully understand. Then we had better start learning quickly, Zethkar replied. On screen, Captain Vasquez moved to the center of the transmission area. Around her, the hybrid children of humanity played with toys made of crystallized time, while their parents worked with beings of pure consciousness to solve problems that had puzzled the galaxy for eons. To every species listening, she said, her voice carrying across star systems and through dimensions. Remember that courage is not the absence of fear. Wisdom is not the absence of uncertainty. And transcendence is not the absence of humanity. We went into the silence expecting to die, she continued. We discovered instead how to truly live. We learned that being human is not about the form consciousness takes, but about the choices consciousness makes. The transmission began to fade as the Wanderer's End prepared to begin its new mission of galactic education and guidance. In the days to come, Captain Vasquez said, her image flickering between human form and patterns of living light, you will face challenges that will test everything you believe about survival, growth, and the meaning of existence. Remember our example. When faced with the impossible, investigate. When offered transcendence, ask how it can serve others. When given the choice between safety and growth, choose growth. Choose to be more than you are, added Dr. Chen. Choose to become what the universe needs you to become, concluded Dr. Webb. The signal ended, but the transformed ship remained visible at the edge of the silence, a beacon of impossible beauty that served as proof that consciousness could evolve beyond all known limitations while remaining true to its essential nature. Dr. Kethmori stared at the screen, her understanding of existence fundamentally altered. They did not just survive the impossible, she said quietly. They transformed the meaning of survival itself. And now, said Admiral Zethkar, they will teach us to do the same. In the weeks that followed, the Wanderer's End began its mission of galactic education. Human teachers, existing simultaneously in physical and transcendent form, established academies on worlds throughout the galaxy. They shared guardian knowledge while helping each species develop their own wisdom. The tests continued as scheduled. But for the first time in cosmic history, species faced them with guidance, with understanding, and with examples of what could be achieved when consciousness chose growth over comfort, service over safety, and wisdom over mere survival. Some species passed their tests, some failed. But all faced them with more knowledge than any previous civilization had possessed. And in the spaces between stars, hybrid children of humanity played with toys made of crystallized time, while their parents worked with beings of pure consciousness to guide the evolution of intelligence throughout the cosmos. Humanity's last journey had become the galaxy's first step toward something greater than anyone had ever imagined. The age of cosmic consciousness had begun.